Welcome to Health Club with Julia. I'm your host, health coach, and registered dietitian, Julia Campagna. I'm on a mission to bridge the gap between looking your best and living your life to the fullest. After years of over dieting, struggling with disordered eating, and destroying my social life, I finally found how to reach my dream physique without sacrificing the things I love. Now I'm sharing all my strategies and education with you. We'll be talking all things health, including hormones, metabolism, and lifestyle to help you cut out the confusion and start living. So get cozy and join the club. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Health Club with Julia podcast. As always, so happy you are here. Wow, today, this podcast recording, this is my 50th podcast episode. That's crazy to think about. To be honest, I never really expected to start a podcast. I was kind of pushed into it in a good way, like by other people. It was like, you should do a podcast. Okay, great, here I am. And now I'm at 50 episodes. I can't believe that. And honestly, podcasting has turned out to be one of my favorite ways to connect and give education and just expand more, because I am a talker. I like to just ramble. If you listen to some of my other podcast episodes, you probably understand that from me. But I do like to go into more detail, and that's why even some of my reels that I post are so long, because I just feel like I have so much to say, and that is why I love podcasting so much. I just have this ability to talk more on a topic and give more resources and education for you guys. So it's been great. I love podcasting. I love having guests on. It's so much fun. I honestly just fully enjoy doing these, and I cannot believe we are already at 50 episodes. I don't even know what my first episode was, obviously 50 episodes ago, but I don't even know when I started this, to be honest. I can't tell you what month, day I started this, but it's wild to me that we're already at 50. So if you have followed me along on this podcast from my first episode to now, thank you so much for your support. It truly, truly does mean the world to me. I don't even think you guys understand how much it means to me that you guys are here and supporting. And if you are new to the podcast and you're just joining on episode 50, then welcome. I am so excited that you are here and starting to listen to this now, and hopefully you continue to join along on this. But that's just crazy. Realized that when I was about to record this. So today I want to obviously bring in hormones again, but I want to talk about strength training and hormones, because this has been a hot topic over the last couple months. I feel like it's really surfaced in the health wellness space and on social media. This debate between training and hormones, cycle syncing, not cycle syncing, what do you do? How do I navigate training and hormones? And so I want to just kind of go through my thoughts and opinions on training, specifically more strength training, in regards to hormones and what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what to watch out for, what's valid, all the little details. I want to kind of go over all of that. So we're going to be talking about how exercise relates to your hormone function in this podcast episode. And quick disclaimer before I get into all the nitty gritty, and this will kind of foreshadow what I'm going to talk about in this episode, but you do not have to stop exercising while on your period. This is, again, like I said, something that I'm seeing a lot more in media and just surfacing in the health and wellness space. Again, this debate, and my take is that you do not have to stop it. And I'm going to go into more detail on why this is, but a lot of people get this happens throughout all things involving health and wellness, that people hear one thing and they try it, they hear another thing and they try it, they hear something from their favorite influencer and they're like, oh yes, that's the answer. And they just kind of get almost shiny object syndrome with all these different trends and fads that are going on within the wellness space. They just kind of pick and choose what's going on and when to try those things when other people are trying them. And I think that's kind of what people are experiencing now, and it kind of leads to almost this paralysis, and I don't know what to do from here, because what is right, what is not right, and it causes confusion and overwhelm. And that's where I feel a lot of people get stuck, because they're like, okay, well, one person said to do this, the other person said to do that, and I don't know what to do anymore. And it causes this overwhelm. And long story short, a lot of people overcomplicate things in their wellness journey. And this is one of those things that I think are just way overcomplicated. This whole cycle syncing, do this during this part of your cycle, and specifically this Pilates, strength training, running. And it just gets really overwhelming and confusing. So I think it's really just too much at this point. We're overcomplicating it. It does not have to be that complicated. And again, I'm going to talk like more in depth on why you don't have to stop exercise while on your period and all of that. But that's my disclaimer and foreshadow that you don't have to, and just simply simplify. Don't overcomplicate your wellness journey. That goes for everything, including nutrition and other practices. But in regards to your hormones and strength training, don't overcomplicate it. It's not that hard, but I'll get into that. So now the question is, can training hurt your hormones? I think that's the biggest question we have to address first and foremost. And this is kind of a double-edged sword. So yes, training can hurt your hormones, but only in the sense of overtraining. If you're overtraining and you're pushing your body past capacity, past its limits, then yes, you're going to see a negative effect on your hormones. That is where something like amenorrhea could happen, where you lose your period because you're overtraining too much. And a lot of other things can take place with hormone function and overtraining. But when training is done correctly, both volume, frequency, what you're doing, when it is done correctly, it can actually help optimize your hormone function and help it. So again, that's a double-edged sword, that question, can it hurt my hormones? Yes, but doing too much of something in a negative way can always harm you, your body, in some sort of fashion. So yes, but when done correctly, it has a lot of benefits. It can help your hormones in so many different ways, and I kind of want to go through that in this episode as well, but it really does have so many benefits. And again, I'm going to go over some facts on this, but I will always have my clients partake in strength training. Specifically strength training. I mean, yes, other forms of exercise are great. Cardio for obviously cardiovascular health and overall heart health. Very, very great for that. Pilates, there's benefits to that. There's benefits to all sorts of training styles. But strength training is one of those kinds of training that I will always have my clients partake in, even if they also want to do something else. So I do have clients that do F45 and they love it, or do Orange Theory and they love it, or do Pilates and they love it, and they're like, I don't want to get rid of this. I would love to do what you offer me as well, but I love these things that I do. I love swimming. I love whatever the other exercise is that they enjoy. I do have clients do those things as well. We modify and kind of come together and figure out what's going to be the best plan for that client. But always, I always recommend strength training to any client. Even if you're not my client and you're listening to this, strength train. Do it. There are so many benefits to strength training. It is one of the best forms of exercise that you can do for yourself, even into the future. For longevity, even as you age, doing some form of weight-bearing exercise can be really, really helpful as you age as well. So it is very beneficial in so many different ways, and I have all of my clients partake in strength training to some capacity, along with, if they have anything else that they love, we will adjust and we will accommodate and figure out what's the best plan for you. But these benefits, and again, I could do a whole nother podcast episode on just the benefits themselves of strength training and what it can do for your body, but it helps with gut health, helps with your metabolism. I know, and it's not a drastic, metabolism-wise, it's not a drastic increase, but having more muscle mass on your body does help your metabolism. Just that in and of itself. And how are you going to get more muscle mass on your body? Strength training, resistance training, building that muscle. So it helps with metabolism. It helps obviously with you getting stronger, which helps with everyday activities. So bending, squatting, picking up groceries, loading a truck, the simplest things like putting up a Christmas tree, going to the bathroom, all of those little everyday activities that you don't even think about when you're doing them. You just do them because your brain is wired to do those things. You're telling your body to do those things. So it's second nature, but getting stronger and doing weight-bearing exercise, strength training, helps with those everyday activities. Again, even as you age, it's very important to do some form of weight-bearing exercise so that you can sit on the toilet when you're older and not struggle to get up, or getting out of bed, or just simply getting up from sitting down in general. Like, all of those small little everyday activities, strength training helps benefit those things. It also helps with balancing your blood sugar. It also helps with getting toned. So all you ladies out there that are like, I really want to get toned, a lot of the times you think that it just comes from losing weight. But if you just simply lose weight, lose body fat, and you don't have muscle to show, that is where you get into, like skinny fat land, where you're just like stuck being, skinnier, smaller, you lost some weight, but it's not exactly the physique that you're looking for, because you want to get toned, aka have muscle, look a little bit leaner, like you have defined lines, and that all comes from having muscle on your body. So if you want to get toned, again, the answer, strength train, and then also calorie deficit and losing body fat, but main point, strength training. It helps to reduce PMS symptoms. There's so many benefits. I don't even know how many I just listed off there, but as you can just see from this little blurb that I just talked about, strength training, resistance training has so many benefits overall. And I want to kind of talk about some facts here, get a little nerdy with you about specifically how strength training helps with hormones specifically. So some of those things, those benefits that I just mentioned, didn't necessarily have to do with all hormones, but how does strength training affect your hormone function specifically? So let's go through some facts, shall we? To give you a little bit more insight on this. So number 1, moderate intensity resistance training is linked to beneficial effects on testosterone and progesterone. And you might be thinking, testosterone, why do I care about that? I'm a female. That is necessary for a lot of functions. Bone health, libido, and again, like I have posted this on my Instagram too, like little funny reels on libido and birth control and hormones and all of that. And if you suffer from low libido, check your testosterone. You need that. Women still need testosterone, even though it's mostly thought of as a male hormone. We need them as females as well. And of course we need progesterone as well for overall cycle health and or like conceiving, all of that, fertility. We need progesterone. So even moderate intensity, you don't have to like go crazy or do anything like that. Moderate intensity resistance training is linked to beneficial effects in both of those hormones. So why would you not do it? What is holding you back from doing that? Also, regular exercise, and this includes more than just lifting and strength training, but regular exercise helps decrease excess circulating estrogen. I have multiple, I think like 2, maybe 3 episodes on my podcast going over estrogen dominance, what that means, what to do for it, etc. But estrogen dominance is not ideal. We do not want that. And again, we can have estrogen dominance in one of 2 ways. We have where our estrogen itself is just higher than normal. And obviously that's going to cause excess estrogen dominance. Or our progesterone could be lower and our estrogen is normal, but the ratio is off, causing more estrogen than is needed based on your progesterone ratio. So there's 2 ways that can happen, but all in all, exercise can help to decrease the excess amount circulating in your body. One very important way that we excrete excess estrogen is through detoxification, through our liver. Also, sweating is a form of detoxification. So again, that helps. Regular exercise helps those detoxification pathways and helps get rid of excess circulating estrogen, so we're not getting into estrogen dominance, which is not ideal. We do not want that, and can cause a lot of negative symptoms that you might experience. So that strength training also helps to stimulate the production of sex hormones and can help with balance. So balancing your hormones stimulating the production of sex hormones. So again, as I talked about earlier, can strength training harm your hormones? Yes. Overtraining can cause a less production of sex hormones, but I'm talking just regular, like doing your strength training correctly, training with necessary volume and frequency, intensity, not overdoing it. That can actually help stimulate the production of your sex hormones. So if you have lower sex hormones, if your hormones are, if you just have an imbalance, it can help with balancing hormones and producing sex hormones. So that's another benefit. And another one I want to mention too is that strength training elicits an acute hormonal response. So what do I mean by this? So testosterone and the growth hormones have been shown to be elevated during 15 to 30 minutes of post-resistance exercise. This provides an adequate stimulus, or providing that an adequate stimulus is present. So again, if you're just doing 15 to 30 minutes and you're not creating this stimulus, then you won't see this change as much. But if you are doing, again, the right amount of, again, frequency, intensity, you're creating the stimulus within that, just 15 to 30 minutes, you will see these hormones being elevated during that post-resistance window. It also helps to build muscle mass and strength, which helps balance hormones. So again, going back to testosterone, that is important for overall being able to build muscle mass and strength. So just doing 15 to 30 minutes of exercise, strength training exercise, you can see an increase in these hormones post-resistance exercise. Given that, again, you are creating a stimulus, you are not just going through the motions and you're actually like challenging your body, you can see that change, which again helps build muscle mass and strength, which in turn helps to balance your hormones. So there's a kind of like cycle with that one, but again, just 15 to 30 minutes and you're already seeing positive results from that. So those are just some facts I wanted to go over just to show you and highlight like strength training and exercise in general, but again, more specifically, strength training has so many benefits for our hormones, and you should be including that. If you hate strength training, I'm going to tell you, give it another try. So many benefits beyond hormones, but if you are struggling in any sort of way with hormones too, strength training is your way to go. Ideally, you want to practice anywhere from like, I'd say 3 to 4 days a week of moderate intensity. Again, you don't want to overtrain, you don't want to go too intense. That moderate intensity is perfectly fine. You don't want to go too low in intensity and not create any stimulus. You do want to create a stimulus for your body. So the sweet spot is at moderate intensity. 3 to 4 days a week is fine. Some people think that 3 days a week, they're not doing anything, they're not getting any benefits. What's the point of doing 3 days a week? I will say right off the bat, I strength train 4 days a week. I used to be somebody who did it 5-6 days a week. I now do it 4 days a week, and I feel the best that I've ever felt. So don't get discouraged if you can only do it 3 times. That is still great. You're still going to get so many benefits from that. As long as, again, you are challenging yourself and providing that moderate intensity. 3 days a week is totally fine. You do not have to go 5, 6, 7 days a week to strength train. That is where you get into territory of overtraining and then actually harming your hormones. So the ideal practice, again, 3 to 4 days a week, moderate intensity. You're good to go. Now let's dive into cycle syncing. I, again, said that little disclaimer at the beginning and said I was foreshadowing that you do not need to stop exercise while on your period. So let's dive into that a little bit more. Cycle syncing. What is the idea of cycle syncing? Cycle syncing basically is adjusting your training based on where you're at in your cycle, whether that's menstrual, follicular, ovulatory, luteal phase. So depending on where you're at in your cycle, you adjust your training to accommodate that. And it's, the idea is that you are kind of changing exercise based on the changes that are happening hormonally within your body. And yes, there's a lot of changes going on a day-to-day basis. Our hormones fluctuate throughout our cycle all the time. We have 28, 35 in terms of normal day cycles, and during that time period, over and over on repeat, our hormones are changing, and we do go through fluctuations in hormones. And so this idea is that, we cater our training to the fluctuations that we're experiencing. So times of lower hormones, aka like luteal phase, later luteal phase, menstrual phase, we are lowering our training, etc. So that is the idea. Now, is it valid? This is, I think, the hardest part for people to understand and comprehend, because again, there's a lot of this, like, this person said to do that, this person said to do another thing, what do? I don't know what to do, I'm confused, there's a lot of different conflicting information, and I don't know what to do, and that's where overwhelm, paralysis happens, and you just don't know what to do from there, so you either stop doing it, or you just try multiple different things, and it's not getting you anywhere. So, is it valid? I'm not going to say it's invalid, especially for somebody who does have some sort of hormonal imbalance. Yeah, you might want to moderate your intensity for a little bit and lessen what you're doing and allow your body to kind of heal. So for my clients that do have hormonal imbalances and we're in a healing process, I will more, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like, more readily adopt a cycle syncing pattern with their training if they need to heal hormones. Yes, for the average person though, it's not as focused on, it's not a major focus for us because they're working fine. Now, there's a guideline, and I'll talk about that, what I give with my clients, but it's not totally invalid. However, you also don't need to go crazy over cycle syncing. It doesn't have to be like, oh, what day am I on? I can only do Pilates this week. That is not the case. That is where a lot of people get tripped up and there's conflicting information. Some people are 100% cycle syncers and you cannot go outside that box. Some people are opposite and are like, fuck the cycle syncing, that is total BS. And then there's people that are in the middle. I'm in the middle. There, again, is benefits to it, especially, again, for certain populations, certain people who need some hormonal love, extra support with their hormones. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more beneficial, but again, it's not just clear cut, like, this is what you need to do, and this is the only thing that you need to follow, and this is it. It's not one size fits all for everybody. And so that leads me to my next, question is, how do you practice that then? If it's not one size fits all, what do I do? Where am I at? And again, this is going to be, specific to specific people. Again, if you do have a hormonal imbalance and you're working on healing that, you might want to be a little bit more strict with cycle syncing. Again, I'm not going all the way to that one side where it's this and that's it. But again, for general population, it's, you have a little bit more leeway with things. So how I would advise to practice cycle syncing is just being in tune with your body. Honestly, that is your biggest tool in your arsenal, is being in tune with your body. If you are in tune and you know what's going on with your body, you are able to adjust and make changes, adjustments as necessary based on what your body is telling you. Your body is so smart, it will quite literally tell you exactly what it needs if you listen to it. And so that is my biggest advice for you. Be in tune with your body. But how do you get there? I mean, not everybody is super in tune with their body. Not everybody tracks their cycle, so I get it. But what I will say is, number one, if you are tracking your cycle, it's going to be a little bit easier. So if you're not tracking your cycle, track your damn cycle. If you're on birth control, it doesn't necessarily apply quite the same for you. But you can still experience some symptoms while on birth control. I call them ghost symptoms with my clients because technically you're getting synthetic hormones. It's not your hormones creating symptoms, but you are having a withdrawal from that medication, which can cause some similar PMS symptoms that you would experience not on birth control. So you can still kind of track you're tracking your cycle anyway if you have pills, because you can literally see when your next placebo pills are going to be and when you're going to have that withdrawal bleed. But regardless, on birth control, not on birth control, track your cycle, especially if you are not on birth control and you're not having pills telling you like, oh, this is where I'm at. Track your dang cycle. It is so beneficial in more than one way, and I honestly advise every single person to track their cycle. So that's the first thing with getting in tune with your body, is track your damn cycle. Know where you're at, know what's going on with your body. And second thing with, again, being in tune with your body and practicing the cycle syncing is, right, so during our luteal phase, especially later luteal phase, that is when our hormones start to change. We have, some hormones are coming down. That's when we are most likely going to feel more fatigued, less energy, less strength. And so during that time, yes, you might need to adjust your training. And cycle syncing would say take the week off, just do Pilates, just do walks, don't do anything else. That's like legit hardcore cycle syncers believe that. I don't. During your late luteal phase, if you are feeling weaker, not as energized, a little bit more fatigued, a little bit more just like bleh in your body, you do not have to stop strength training. But what I would advise, and again, how to practice this then, adjust as necessary. You might have to take an extra rest day. If you go to the gym 5 days a week, you might need to only do 3 or 4 days that week and take an extra rest day or 2. You might need to lower your intensity in the form of volume. So either reps or weight or both. You might have to lessen that. Do less weight, do less reps. Make it a little bit easier. It might not be that you're hitting PRs, but that's okay. During this time, you need to adjust for that. So that's pretty much how I practice it and how I advise my clients to practice it and how we go through. I have all of my clients track their cycles, so all of them know what's coming up when, and we know when to adjust as necessary. There will be some cycles that you feel on top of the world. This just happened to me. I just got over my cycle. I had, at the time that I'm recording this, I had my cycle a week ago, and I had no PMS symptoms. I knew when it was coming because I tracked my cycle, but I didn't have any PMS symptoms. I didn't feel fatigued. I didn't feel weak. And I went into the gym and I had killer sessions. I did all of my regular 4 sessions. And yes, I was aware I might need to drop them down, but I felt great. And so I'm not going to just walk and quit my training sessions just because it's my luteal phase. If I'm feeling good, if I'm feeling up for it, I'm going to go into the gym and I'm going to do what I can do. So your cycle can also change from cycle to cycle. It's not going to be every single cycle is the same. Our cycles change pretty much every time. There's going to be differences in our cycles every time, or every now and then. So again, be in tune with your body and adjust as necessary for you. That doesn't mean totally negating your strength training and just sticking with Pilates or walking or whatever else, or simply not doing anything. Stay active, because activity in general can help with PMS symptoms. So as you're going through your late luteal phase into your menstrual phase and you're experiencing PMS, activity actually helps lessen your PMS. So I would never advise not to do anything and just sit on the couch when you're in your late luteal into your menstrual phase. I would never advise that. Strength training also helps reduce PMS. So still do those things, just adjust. Lessen the intensity if you need to, if you're feeling weaker. Give yourself extra rest days if you're feeling more fatigued and you need to just kind of give yourself some extra rest and stay in bed a little bit later one day. You don't have to just simply cut everything out. And that's my take on cycle syncing and kind of how to practice it. And again, like as you are getting into your late menstrual phase, like a few days after you start bleeding, into your follicular phase, ovulatory phase, yes, your hormones are going to shift again. You're going to feel more energized, stronger, and that is, you can do more. But during that late luteal phase, menstrual phase, don't feel like you have to just stop everything. Just see how your body's feeling and adjust accordingly. That's my take on cycle syncing. Now, what would I lessen? Again, especially for people who do have hormonal imbalance and they're trying to heal hormones or balance their hormones, or just simply optimize your hormone health. If you're going through this journey, there are things that I would stay away from. So number one, with cycle syncing, you might have to adjust more frequently or more like closely when you have, you're trying to optimize your hormones. So that goes along with strength training. You might have to adjust a little bit more than if you don't have any hormonal stuff going on. Also, some things to look out for: HIIT training. If you have a hormonal imbalance and you are working on balancing your hormones, optimizing your hormones, do not do HIIT training, please. That is a big stressor for the body. Especially important for those who do not have a period, do not have a regular cycle at all. They have amenorrhea. Do not do HIIT training. Do not do that. You do not need to do high intensity training right now. You need to give your body time to heal, which means bringing down stress, which means bringing down certain styles of training and lightening up a little bit, making your body feel really safe. HIIT training, like I said, is a big...
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Health Club with Julia podcast. If you loved the episode, share the podcast and tag me, and subscribe so you don't miss any further episodes. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM. Thanks for being a part of the club. See you next time.